Are we ready?
Yeah.
Call the meeting to order. Mike Malone, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, this is a public hearing regarding the proposed resolution for the Belgium Cold Springs Fire District to adopt the volunteer firefighter real property tax exemption. Real property tax law 466A requires that local government entitled entities wishing to confer the benefits of said statute and enrolled volunteer firefighters serving within their boundaries hold a public hearing. This public hearing must be held such as in a manner to maximize participation in the process. The purpose of this hearing is to discuss the resolution to confer the volunteer firefighter real property tax exemption. The Secretary of the Fire District has filed with this district an affidavit stating that the notice of this public hearing was published or posted at least once 10 days before the date specified for the hearing in the Syracuse Post-Standard, the official newspaper of the fire district. The official bulletin board of the town of Lysander, of the fire district, the website of the town of Lysander, and the website of the fire district. The notice of public hearing specified the time and date, when and place where the public hearing would be held. The fire district secretary also made available for inspection at least 5 days before the public hearing by any interested person during district office hours copies of the proposed resolution to confer the volunteer firefighter real property tax exemption. The purpose of this public hearing is to allow members of the public to make comments on the resolution to confer the volunteer firefighter real property tax exemption. Any person may be heard in favor of or against the resolution to confer the volunteer firefighter real property tax exemption. Please note that this is only a proposed resolution until the Board of Fire Commissioners adopts the resolution for the volunteer firefighter real property tax exemption. We will outline briefly the summary of the real property tax exemption, and it authorizes the fire district after a public hearing to grant a tax exemption to enrolled volunteer members of the Belgium Cold Springs Fire Department. The Board of Fire Commissioners has determined that the granting of the tax exemption will enhance recruitment and retention of volunteer firefighters in the fire department. The exemption to be granted at 10% of the assessed value of the real property owned by an enrolled volunteer firefighter who meets the eligibility requirements established in this resolution. The enrolled member must reside in the territory served by the fire district. The property must be the primary residence of the enrolled member. The property is used exclusively for residential purposes, provided, however, that in the event any portion of such property is not used exclusively for the applicant's residence, but is used for other purposes, such portion shall be subject to taxation, and the remaining portion only shall be entitled to the exception. The enrolled member has been certified by the chief of the department or designee to have served at least 2 years of active service, and such certification has been approved by the Board of Fire Commissioners. The law allows, I think, from 2 to 5, and the town has allowed for 2. I don't know for sure what the county did, but for purposes for the fire district, we're at this point, unless the board feels differently, we're looking at 2 years. The enrolled member who accrues more than 20 years of active service as certified by the chief of the department or designee shall be granted a 10% exemption for the remainder of his or her life, as long as the property for which the exemption is sought is the primary residence of the enrolled member. The exemption granted under this resolution shall continue for the unremarried spouse of an enrolled member of the fire department who was killed in the line of duty upon the following conditions. The unremarried spouse is certified by the chief of the fire department as designee as the unremarried spouse of the volunteer firefighter killed in the line of duty, and the deceased volunteer firefighter had been an enrolled member for at least 2 years, and the deceased volunteer firefighter had been receiving the exemption prior to his or her death. The exemption granted under this resolution shall continue for the unremarried spouse of a deceased member of the Belgium Cold Springs Fire Department under the following conditions. The unremarried spouse is certified by the chief as designee as the unremarried spouse of the enrolled member. The deceased volunteer firefighter has been an enrolled member for at least 20 years, and the deceased volunteer firefighter has been receiving the exemption prior to his or her death. So that is a brief synopsis of what the resolution and what the program would provide for. So at this point, I'd ask if the public has any comments for or against, if you would state your name and address and address the board. Hearing none, does any of the fire commissioners have a comment?
No.
Okay. So the public hearing regarding the proposed resolution to confer the volunteer firefighter rear property tax exemption of the Belgium Cold Springs Fire District is declared closed. If I can have a motion to close the hearing. Motion by Mike Chura, second by Mike Malone. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The hearing is closed. So we'll call the meeting to order. We've already done the pledge flag. We have the minutes of the February 21, 2023 meeting have been distributed. Any questions, comments? Have a motion to approve? Mike Chura. Mike Malone seconds the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
We need to approve the minutes of the public hearing also.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Somehow I didn't put it on there.
So could we have a motion to approve the minutes of the public hearing, which was held on February 21st? That's not the one we just did, the one on February 21st. Chira and Malone, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, treasurer's report.
Okay, here we go. Codes, single sheet, front and back. The top is the assets. Bottom, we have one voucher for $105. Turn it over, top is the checking account. And there's been no activity since November there. And savings at the bottom. We've got 34 district vouchers, 2 credit card vouchers, 1 overtime, and then 1 code voucher. If we look at the district report, front page, the top, the assets, bottom, liabilities. Page 2 and 3 is the previous year comparison. Four and 5 is the budget and versus the actual. I'll just point out there, it's not much. At the bottom of page 4, obviously the property taxes went up because we've already overspent that budget by $279.56. I thought it a good thing to pay it though. And 6 and 7 are the bank account pages, and it shows the transfer of the end of the year fund balance. And that's pretty much the activity that was going on for reserves. Page 8 is the referendum page, and that was corrected February 22nd. To show what was missing. And nothing has changed since then, so that's the same report that should have been in February. Page 9 is our bond principal and interest payments, and I've made one interest payment March 15th, $5,512.50. And page 10, a short one starting off the year for the service awards. Last month we lost approximately 18,000 decrease. And 11, 12, and 13 are tonight's vouchers. Diane wins the bank statements this month. The service award is progressing nicely. The time period for participants to question the points that were earned in 2022 ends at the end of this month. So that will be starting up next month, starting the paperwork. And the audit is still progressing. And that's it.
Are there any questions for the treasurer? I entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll second.
I'll second it.
Okay, so I'm,
You made the motion, yes?
I entertained a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mike Malone makes the motion, Charlie seconds the motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I need a motion to pay the voucher, the audit the vouchers and pay the vouchers that are presented. Motion Malone, second Chura. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And who gets the bank statements tonight? Diane. Okay. And are there any permissive referendums to close out?
No.
Okay. Okay, correspondence.
The Fire District Affairs, excuse me, was received and distributed, and we got a request from the fire department to review and approve the bylaws amendments.
And I think those are listed in,
It's under new business.
under new business. Chief Root.
Communications, still waiting on the chargers for the new radios. They're supposed to be in by the end of January. Since the publishing of this, the multi-unit chargers have come in. They were reported last month as coming in soon. They came in this afternoon. The ones for the vehicles are still looking like July. New apparatus, Commissioner Chura will be reporting on anything that came up new with the rescue pumper. And the chief's cars, again, same report as last month. There hasn't been much movement. We're still waiting for the second vehicle to come in. And that is it.
That's it? Any questions for Chief? Chief Corcoran.
Nothing to report.
Chief Speech is not here. Did either of you have anything to report from him?
He did not have anything to report either.
Committee reports, building and facilities, long-term. Amy, what do you don't know anything more on the road?
It just looked, I emailed him January 23rd that we needed an updated quote. He said he would work on it, get us a revised quote. February 7th, I emailed him again. I said, we have yet to receive the revised quote, and I have heard nothing since then.
Okay. New truck committee.
The vehicle is projected to maybe start building September, maybe late September, maybe October, with a potential delivery end of December if everything goes right. They won't have any engineering stuff finalized until probably August or September. So that's,
Isn't that, is end of December is ahead of time, ahead of our projection?
that's our projected from when we did the contract. Now, if they come across any parts problems or anything else, that could delay it. I also asked if it included the holidays too, and he still said end of December maybe. And then if their final engineering comes up with any other kinks, they could, depending on what they are, could make changes.
Well, we're okay on on payment because we have the money in reserve for payment. So it's not like we have to, go through the bonding process. Lysander Public Safety, the next meeting is March 21st, which is tomorrow, 7 p.m. at GBAC. Budget and Finance, nothing to report there. IT Committee, Diane, do you have anything?
Nothing to report.
Personnel, Kit and Diane. I guess at this point we could ask Mike if he knows anything more about the civil service situation with paid part-time firefighter EMTs.
Since the last meeting, I've made 3 contacts with civil service. They are researching the request. Made another phone call to them today, left a message with no response. They're not sure right now how to answer the request that we put in. So it may end up having to go to Albany to have them make a decision. But the request is out there, it's whether or not either the county or the state allows it.
What's the request?
For up to 2 part-time firefighter EMTs.
And that was, you have to get, you had to go to CSC, the civil service, to get a job description or to get what from them as to the request? You have to,
Get the positions.
positions approved?
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense. There was no real explanation of what the request was for. Thank you.
Okay, caretaker leader report, we have in our packets. Here. Jerry's not here tonight, but we have concerns or questions about his report. Truck maintenance. Oh,
Question on your caretaker report. You have detailed list for your caretakers. From my understanding, you also have a more details on your newer caretaker, time frame wise. I would like to see also a detailed list. We get it on our caretakers, on the secretary, what her 8 hours of a day consist of. Because you've gotten it down here on your caretakers, but they're the only ones that are singled out. As a taxpayer wise, it would be nice to know what exactly the secretary also gets for her 8 hours. The chief, we know what he's doing right now. But to single out the caretakers that they have to give a monthly report is kind of what I feel is like a micromanagement type. I understand to get the reports, but on the current new employee you have, the detail that has to go into that report is very, I've never, in all the years, I've never seen any employer ask for that much of detail. I don't know if it's to use it as a study guide to see exactly what your future would be with 2 new employees coming on, workload, if it would be justified. But that's just the concerns I have is if we're gonna do it on the caretakers, then we should do it on all the employees basically to justify it. That's it on that one.
no taking.
I I do keep a calendar that lists everything I do. It just doesn't get brought here. Some of what I do is confidential.
I understand that part, yes.
Okay. Truck maintenance. Go back to that now. Do you have anything on truck maintenance, Mike?
Just that the ladders are all tested and everything's looking good. And then there's been some minor repairs that are in Jerry's report.
Okay, any word on squad 2?
Nothing yet. They had ordered, or put in the orders for the parts. I don't know if they've received them all yet. Once they receive them, they'll call us and we'll deliver the vehicle for repair.
Okay, building maintenance, like 1.
Nothing major. Jerry's taking care of everything.
The ice machine's working fine?
It works very well. It makes a lot of noise when it's dropping the ice. If that thing's working, it makes a lot of noise. It's a very good machine.
You have better ice than Station 1.
Oh, yeah.
And it lasts longer too.
Well, I don't know about that part.
It will, because they're solid cubes.
Nice, nice. Thank you.
But it'll be good for the summer when we have the tower.
Steering committee.
We met last month, went pretty well. Anybody interested in attending the next one, please let Commissioner Thompson know your interest. And it should be this Saturday morning after the business meeting. I know it's Easter weekend, but if there isn't a big request, we may move it to the following week. So if you're interested, please contact Kit.
So it's not on the agenda, but it is a committee. Charlie, do you have any report on fire prevention?
No, I do not.
I do have 2 dates for codes fire prevention. And I will be taking them to the meeting tomorrow night for the Lysander Public Safety. Old business, we have the member benefits policy. We have been working on that for the past couple of months. Today, I made changes suggested by Charlie and Diane and Mike Chura, and we distributed those, and the new draft is what we're handing out here tonight. Are there commissioners that are ready to address this, or do you want to postpone it till the next meeting when you have more time to look it over? How do you feel?
I'm okay moving forward unless anybody has concerns.
Anybody have concerns that we should table it?
Any concerns? Any concerns, Charlie?
Okay, well, let's move forward then. Do we have a motion to, I think that at this point, on the last page, the last thing, it says that in 7-1, amended and reaffirmed April 17th, and then 7-2 would be revised March, and today's the 21st? March 20th, and adopted March 20th.
You have no procedure in 6.0, you have nothing in there anymore. Is there a reason? You took all the just the verbiage of the responsibility of the member to notify and all that, all those items were removed. I understand removal of the first statement, but the remaining statements were appropriate for the members to do that responsibility. Included, required me to report any injury to the officer in charge that occurs while on duty or participating in any sanctioned event. Members are required to report any injury or illness that prevents them from performing their volunteer service. It's the responsibility of the members to update their beneficiary forms with the fire district secretary regularly, especially if there's a change in their circumstances. And members may contact any fire commissioner or fire district secretary to discuss the benefits. Member benefits eligibility are decided by the Board of Fire Commissioners with consultation with the, or in consultation with the insurance carriers. All that was removed. Any reason for that?
If the thought was that it was redundant, that those things were covered in the earlier discussion. You know, like in the service awards on 5.5, all active members are encouraged to review their beneficiaries and
Pointing it out in a very specific portion of the policy rather than having it encumbered into descriptions is a more appropriate way of writing a policy. And talk to policy.
well, how's the board feel? Do you feel that the procedure needs to be there, or?
I felt I was comfortable with removing it.
I'd like to change my motion, remove 6-0 procedure from it, and adopt the rest. No, remove this.
Okay.
But the, in the final, correct dates.
Correct.
So Mike made the motion, is there a second? Diane seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
It includes changing the 7-0 to 6-0.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we need to vote on that, all in favor? Oh, we did that, okay, so that's carried. All right. The resolution for the tax exemption. Do you have the resolution, Amy, or do you want me to read it?
You have it in your folders.
Okay.
It's on the second page of that. I mean, I can, but it's, the public hearing's on the first page and then the resolution's on the back.
So, does someone want to make a motion to approve the resolution for the real property tax exemption for volunteer firefighters?
I'll make the motion.
Charlie makes the motion. Mike Chura seconds. We probably should poll the board. So, Rafkus?
Yes.
Yes. Chura?
Yes.
Thompson? Yes. Malone?
Yes.
Yes.
Priest? Yes. Okay, so that was carried unanimously. But we would understand that we're too late for the current year, but it would be in effect for the fire district next year. We have active member applications. Amy, do you have the paperwork for those?
Yep. There's no issues with either one.
Everything's in order? Okay. Can we have a motion to approve William Mooney as an active member of the fire department?
I'll make the motion.
Laprise?
I'll second it.
Malone seconds the motion. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have a new member application, Mason Hallenbeck. Everything's in order with that. And both of these would be pending their physical,
Yes.
because the investigations have been done, right? Okay. So we have a motion to approve Mason Hallenbeck as an active member pending.
I'll make the motion.
Charlie makes the motion.
I'll second it.
Malone seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have the bylaws amendments that were passed by the fire department at their last meeting. They were introduced to the membership at one meeting, and they were read and voted on at the March 2nd business meeting. Is there any discussion about those? I have a motion to approve. Chura?
Malone, second.
Seconds the motion. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So we will, Amy, you'll send a letter back to the department indicating the approval of those bylaws amendments. I've got an additional item on the agenda. I was at commissioner training Saturday in Endwell, and one of the things that was brought up is, do the commissioners need to approve training which is outside of the county? And there was a bit of a question about it, so I think just to be safe here, we should approve anyone who is going to out-of-the-county training. And Amy, do you have a list of those?
I only have two right now that I can think of. Marty Quinn going to Montour Falls, and John Melchior has three. One to Seco County, one to Emmitsburg, Maryland, and one to Montour Falls.
Okay, so I guess until we have a more definitive answer on whether it's necessary, it certainly can't do any harm to do this. So do we have a motion to approve those listed for out-of-the-county training?
I'll make the motion.
Charlie?
I'll second it.
And Mike Malone seconds the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I have something under new business if there isn't anything else.
Okay.
So I make a motion to repeal stipulations 5.2 and 5.3 in policy number 00-046, in station number 1 hall usage effective immediately. Additionally, I motion to refund any monies paid by members to use the hall since this policy went into effect. I have here copies of the policy if each member of the board wants to see them. The only reason that the only one commissioner has provided me with an answer as to why this rule became, or this policy went into effect, and that was an issue with the firefighter parking. Since that, there's been 3 signs put up there. There is no public, or there's no problem with the firefighters out there parking. Again, this is something that multiple people have come up to me, and I told them to preach it to the choir. This is something that one of the things that we have is as a benefit, and we just got done talking about member benefits in the policy, is the hall usage, and to minimize it to only 2 times a year is just kind of senseless.
So, your motion is to, can you repeat that? So,
To repeal stipulations 5.2 and 5.3 from the policy 00-046.
You said you've got copies?
I have copies.
You can have them.
Copies if anybody wants them.
okay, is there a second to that motion? Doug's made a motion. If there's no second, then it drops.
Comment or?
Okay, so I guess that is,
Thanks for your support.
yeah, the motion doesn't have a second, so. How about, Mark, if you make your comments during the public portion?
Okay, well, it was regarding part of this.
What's that?
It was regarding part of this.
So there's no second, so that means that it's dropped basically right then and there. So at this point, if we can move on to public comments, then that's where we'll move to.
Yeah.
But
So,
nothing happened with the motion, nobody wants to do anything with it, so.
okay, so we'll move on to public comments. So, Mark, you have a public comment.
Public comments regarding the policy of building hall usage. We have had a couple of members within the department concerning bringing up to our president. Unfortunately, she can't speak right at the moment because she's on a conference call. But there have been some members that have spoke to her regarding the usage of the hall and the limitations that we have on it. You're doing twice per household, and such as in my case, I have 4 members in my house, but I can only use it twice. There's also been some phone calls that have been accepted by the president from the Girl Scouts that would like to use the hall, but they can't because under this policy, they can only use it twice. And being an organization that, for all the kids and everybody around our district area, that would be a good way of letting the community into the hall. So basically, we're putting the hall, the usage of the public hall, on limitations to twice, where that's never been in the past. It's always been an open building, has a public usage. We welcome the public in here. It's also a way of possibly recruiting people if they come in and use the hall and if they live around here. It's not just for recruiting for us. It could be recruiting for other neighboring departments. So if somebody comes in, you have one of our members here that could talk to somebody if they regarding the firehouse, how it works and everything else. And they might get their interest in it and go back to their own neighboring department and say, hey, look, I'd like to join or something. But for us to put a limitation on a public used hall of twice, such as the American Red Cross, they should only be using it twice. But you guys make stipulations on where you let them slide. But the American Red Cross blood drive, they use it more than twice a year, and we allow that. Well, other than that, though, it's a public building, and it should be used as a public building, not limitation to, no, you can't use it, you're only allowed to use it twice. The parking here at the firehouse during calls, I understand there are some organizations that do have a lot of parking, but they work with us. We don't get that many responders as it is now coming to the firehouse for calls. So for parking issues on us coming to calls, that's my term, an scapegoat. Because we don't get that many people coming to calls nowadays for medical calls, for fire calls. And for that to be part of an issue of one of your concerns is, well, public's taking too much parking spot. I don't buy that. This building's been used quite often in the many years that I've been here, and we've never really had issues of parking. You park wherever you can park, such as Commissioner LaPriest just said, we've got new signs up on the building so the firemen can park up right next to the building if need to. They block off sections of the parking lot for the apparatus to get out. Members can park right over here by the front sign of the building. There are spots where the members can pull into. So for the motion to be denied or not even discussed by the head table of the commissioners, I just don't find that appropriate for the taxpayers of not even able to use the hall that they pay for. They should have the right to use it. Even if you charge a little bit of a fee, that would be like the school district saying, no, you can't come to the school and use the school. Same concept. School's paid for by the taxpayers. Firehouse district is paid for by the taxpayers. School doors are open. As long as there's a custodian on, the building's used. All they do is sign it out. They have to have an insurance policy to use the building, and they do provide that. If nobody is there, then there's a cover charge if nobody is there to watch the building, such on weekends. Baker High School, Durgee for the sports. But other than that, it's the taxpayers' money that's paid for, in the example, of schools and the firehouse. So for us to put a limitation on the usage of the taxpayers' hall, I disagree with. But those were some of the concerns that were brought to us by the membership and by outside organizations that would like to use the hall, but they can't because there's a limitation of only 2.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
Can anyone tell me the other reason why the firehouse limitation was put there? Because all we've ever heard is the parking. That's the only reason that anyone has ever said, was that a firefighter, maybe 2, complained that they couldn't find a parking spot when they came to the fire hall to respond to a call. And that was the reason why there was this huge brouhaha in putting a limitation on. What was the other reason why there was a limitation put on? Is anyone going to tell me the real reason why? Commissioners, 4 of you were on last year when we voted the policy into place. What is the answer? Diane, Mike, Kit, Mike, what are the reasons why? Tell us the reasons. Because you're creating a workplace that is hostile to the membership and to the community by your actions, these are some of the actions that you have created and created a hostile work environment for these people and for the people of the community by your actions. What are the reasons? Give me one more reason why. That's a valid reason.
Who's to say there was more than parking?
You've solved the parking issue. You've got 3 signs up there providing parking. There you've solved the problem. There's parking all around the building. So if that's the only reason, give me another good reason why that policy went into place. Other than that, the parking has been resolved.
The parking is still a problem.
Have you
So the
been up here when
policy is
you
in
like
effect.
for a election? That's when there's a parking problem. Have you attended an election when there's parking out on the street, that street, all around? That's when there's a parking issue. How many calls have you attended when the parking lot has been full? And who was here? And what is the issue? You couldn't park over that way? Tell me.
Let's reverse it. They couldn't have parked over there?
Who?
The people that parked where the firefighters were.
The community room entrance is here. It's not over on that side of the building. This is the community room entrance. Yes, there's an entrance for the firefighters here. There's also an entrance over on the other side of Bay 1 or whatever it is. There's also an entrance at the lounge entrance. The public can't get in those entrances. They can only get in this entrance. So when you have the public using the facility, this is the parking area. This is not a parking, yes, it's great for the firefighters to come up and get there real quick and come in that way, but they can just as quick come in the other doors. So you have 3 parking spots now and all the other parking around the building. What are the other reasons why the building restriction was placed in that policy? What are the other reasons? Because that's really been resolved.
It hasn't been resolved and the policy stands.
It has been resolved. You've got 3 parking spots.
Okay, this is not a debate.
It's a truthful statement.
It's a
It's a
public
request for
comment.
truth.
It's the public comment period.
No, it's a request for truth. And I haven't heard the truth yet.
Any further public comments? Any additional business from the board? We do need to adjourn to executive session for the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of particular individual or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person. G. Need a motion? Mike Malone, second by Ventura. We will move to executive session. Okay, we return to open session at 9:35. I would like to make a motion to extend an offer to Jerry Tanner to work part-time with a minimum of 15 hours per week as determined by need, with additional hours approved by the chief.
Do you want to say effective April 1st?
Certainly can do that, effective April 1st.
Or are you going to let them know in the future when the start date is?
Do we have a second? Diane seconds the motion. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So, Entertain a motion to adjourn. Mike Malone, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.